So we at CL4, we nowhere promote trading, buying or selling of Bitcoins or any other cryptocurrencies. And the whole motive to conduct this workshop is to understand the impact and the possible need of Bitcoin and any other cryptocurrency. Now, first and foremost, we need to understand that whether government has prohibited cryptocurrencies in India or not. A lot of people say that Bitcoin is illegal in India or cryptocurrencies are illegal in India. So I'll just show you two documents to start with. The first document is from 16th of July 2019, wherein we asked Deputy Minister of Finance Shri Anurag Singh Thakur that whether government has prohibited cryptocurrency in the country, and point B, if so, the details thereof. To both the questions, he said no. Government has not prohibited cryptocurrencies in India. Then the other problem we were facing was from RBI, which guided all the banks and related agencies to block accounts of people who were using cryptocurrencies. So the result, we got this on. So we were with Internet and Mobile Association of India (IMA), and it was against Reserve Bank of India. And the result we got on 4th of March earlier this year, wherein Supreme Court of India has allowed us to use our accounts for cryptocurrency purposes. My personal Citibank credit card was blocked because I did $100 transaction for Bitcoin. Anyways, that is past. Right now, you can use, trade, mine with respect to cryptocurrencies. The cryptocurrencies in India will be treated as asset, an asset like gold. So if you have it with you, you can declare that you have this asset. The moment you sell it, the moment you sell any asset, the amount that you receive is taxable as per respective laws, and you will have to pay taxes on that. This is about us. I'll just uh, cross the slide. That's me. Uh, so we are into cybercrime investigation. We do computer forensics, mobile forensics. In 2013, we stumbled upon something called Bitcoin, and I realized that this is a new tech. Never heard. Amazing. I don't know how it works. Back then, Bitcoin was it was used mostly in darknet only, not in the surface net as we see it. We started a research group in 2015. From 17, 18, started delivering solutions on blockchain and various different cryptocurrencies. Now, the topics that we'll be covering, we'll start with history of money, how money came into existence, and how cryptocurrencies came into existence. Major cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, alternate cryptocurrencies, basics of cryptography, blockchain, mining, and other related stuff. I'll also try to discuss a few use cases here. First of all, why we need money? It all started with something called barter system, wherein you give, say, 1 kg of salt and you will get maybe 1 kg of wheat. However, the system was not prudent in the sense that maybe wheat is limited and salt is unlimited. Then came in the precious metal system, wherein you pay by maybe 10 grams of gold and you may get 100 kgs of barley. But again, the system was not prudent, particularly for businessmen who were traveling outside, and this was happening a lot. And that is how East India Company came to India. Then came in paper money. Paper money is 1,000-year-old. It started with the initial paper money was more like promissory notes. Then exact paper money came into it. Started in China. Then the current system came into picture, which is known as fiat money. This is more than 100 years old. When it started, all the countries, they kept certain amount of gold in reserves to finance the fiat money. However, United States was the last country which gave up gold standard in 1971, which means after 1971, whatever money that is printed, it is not printed in a prudent fashion, as in there is no backing for that kind of currency. Same is the case with India. Same is the case with any other country. Even the stimulus which was provided in US right now for COVID 2019, it is a lot of dollar printing, which will increase the inflation. Now, part of our fiat money is also known as electronic money, which means if I want to send, say, 2,000 rupees to my friend Arijit in Kolkata, I need to have his account number, I need to have his IFSC, I'll feed it to my banking app, mobile app, and I can send the money. However, there are problems and limitations to it. For example, first and foremost, it requires a third party to confirm the transaction, which
Right.
in this case is bank. Then when once a bank comes into picture, we need to have our KYC done. This KYC is done every 2 3 years. KYC stands for know your customer, so I need to do it through bank. Third, it is country oriented. For example, Arijit shifts to US tomorrow. I can't send him money. I can't send money to him in US instantly. I will have to go to bank. I will have to fill something called an A2 form. I will have to give a declaration that this is not used for terrorist financing and so on and so forth. And then, even if it is 2,000 rupees, then only I can send. Number four, naturally, we have to pay taxes. So whatever money is in our account, it is taxable. There are certain transaction charges, like I use Axis Bank for every transaction, particularly for IMPS transactions. It charges 2.5 rupees to 5 rupees. And naturally, there is a 18% GST on it, 2 rupees 50 paisa plus 18% GST. And there is a small element of risk also involved, security issue involved. uh, we see a lot of people sharing their OTPs and losing money. This is a case right now with electronic money as we know of. Till few years back, a lot of you, I'm not sure about your ages, but till a few years back, there was something called telecommunication fraud, wherein you pay 600 rupees and you will get a 300 balance. In that 300 balance, you can call someone at the rate of say 1 rupee per minute. Now you are paying 1 rupee per minute from the balance that you have received. However, essentially you are actually paying 2 rupees per minute. This is still prevalent in a lot of malls wherein you go to uh, say a food court, buy a card, or you go to game zone and you buy a card and use it accordingly. So now, what is fiat money? Fiat money is uh, it's money that we use it. Now, money, it decreases in value. I'll explain it to you how it decreases in value. First, in 2000, in 1916, 104 years back, the value, we were under British, so our currency was British Indian coin. So 1 rupee of British India was equivalent to 16 US dollars. In 1947, when India became independent, 1 US dollar was equivalent to 1 rupee. And now 1 US dollar is equivalent to 76 rupees. So it has sort of come down drastically. In last 2 years, Argentinian peso has lost two-thirds of its value. Zimbabwe is in hyperinflation for more than 12 years, as I know of. In fact, in 2008, they printed a very specific currency note also. Same is the case with Venezuela. Even if you want to buy a loaf of bread, you'll have to carry kgs and kgs of currency, beautifully printed currency, but it has no value as such. This is Indian rupee to dollar over the years, what we were talking about. So it started pretty low. Right now it's touching 76. This is the Zimbabwe crisis that I was talking to you about. They printed a $1 trillion note. It is more of a novelty right now. You cannot buy much out of it, maybe a loaf of bread or something. But this was printed. And this is a legal tender in Zimbabwe. People often compare Bitcoin in particular and other cryptocurrencies in general with a lot of different big scams that have happened in past. First and foremost that comes into my mind is Dutch tulip mania. The flower, what you see is called a tulip bulb. These tulip bulbs in 1610, they rose to price that for price of 4 tulip bulb, you can actually buy a mansion. And it happened in Amsterdam's exchange. It ran for almost 1.5 years, one year and a quarter, roughly 15 months to be precise. And then the price nosedived, and naturally people lost a lot of money. Similarly, a lot of scams have happened in past. People have lost money, big scams, small scams, very small scams, huge scams, and people lost money. People tend, now human nature is that whatever we don't understand, we either consider it God or a scam. So in Bitcoin's case, people consider it as a scam. Now, what are the basic problems we have faced till now regarding currency? As I told you earlier, it is centralized. So, Indian currency is centralized by RBI. These are private ledgers from bank to bank only. There is something called double spending problem. I'll just confirm it in next few slides. And you are obviously prone to hack. Now, this is double spending problems, wherein in 2016, and this happened after demonetization, after the new currency notes came into circulation, that Reserve Bank of India circulated two variants of new 500 rupees note, varying in the alignment of national emblem and change in shadows of Mahatma Gandhi face, along with some serial number issues were concerned. There were same notes issued with same serial number. More than one notes were issued with same serial numbers. And this was not done by Pakistan. This was not done by terrorists. It happened by mistake. Now, if it can happen with new notes, which just came into circulation, I'm talking about December 2016. If it can happen in December 2016, I'm sure it would have been happening in past also. However, we are not aware that there is any written thing. It happened and it was not caught, but there is a slim possibility. Now, how blockchain or Bitcoin solve these problems? First thing, let's say talk about Bitcoin. It is decentralized, which means it is maintained by different nodes. The ledger is public. The digital ledger, which is known as blockchain, it is public. It is maintained by community, and anyone can go and have a look. It the ledger is immutable, which means it is incorruptible. And lastly, there is no double spending problem. So what once a Bitcoin is spent, it is transferred from one wallet to another. The cryptocurrency is general is nothing but a new type of digital money used to exchange on agreed upon values. Which means right now, if I say that I want to sell Bitcoin at 9,500 US dollars and it is sold at 9,500 US dollars, then that's an agreed upon value. Now, any guesses on how many cryptocurrencies are there in the world? We updated this data just yesterday, and it is close. There are close to 5,576 cryptocurrencies with value of more than 269 US dollar billion US dollars. This is the market capitalization for yesterday, and as I said, Bitcoin has almost 65% of market cap. Now, if you see the volume of Bitcoin yesterday was close to 33.5 billion US dollars. However, if you see at number 3, Tether has more than that. It has 35.66 billion US dollars of volume, which means the trade volume of USDT was 35.66 billion US dollars. Now, these are some interesting cryptos. 1 gram, it is a gold backed crypto. Paxos, again, it's a stable coin. One Pax has a value of 1 US dollar. This particular currency received bit license from the state of New York, and this is backed by equal amount of reserves in state of New York. Libra, which is Facebook's own cryptocurrency, we'll see how it works. And China is coming up with its own cryptocurrency. In fact, they're already testing it, and soon it will be deployed in market. Pax Gold is again an interesting currency wherein a token is backed by one fine troy ounce of a 400-ounce London goods delivery bar stored in Brink's gold vaults. Brinks is a security agency. So if you buy a token, you'll one token is roughly 400 US dollars. Sorry, 1600 US dollars. If you buy one token, it is equivalent to one fine troy ounce. You can once you reach 400 ounce, you can actually go and take the delivery of this particular gold brick also. Now, what is Bitcoin? In one line, it is an open source, purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash. It was created by someone called Satoshi Nakamoto. No one knows who is
Yeah.
Satoshi Nakamoto. And he wrote a paper called peer-to-peer electronic cash system. This is the paper. It is available over internet. The code is given. The code is in C++, and you can actually, if you want to fork a cryptocurrency out of Bitcoin, you can actually do that if you know how to do it. The research paper was called a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. It was implemented in January 2009, and from 3rd of Jan, the network came into existence, and they released the first Bitcoin software and the first of the Bitcoins. So no one knows who is Satoshi Nakamoto. He was contributing until mid 2010, and then he made some changes in the uh, repository, in the code repository, and he gave all the rights to someone called Gavin Anderson. And since then, he has vanished. Even the wallets he had in his control, they are untouched. So whatever, he has the maximum number of bitcoins, but those are all untouched. So I'll just explain Bitcoin to you again. It does not have any intrinsic value. The coin that you see on your right, even I have that coin, but it has no intrinsic value.
Yeah.
It's like gold. Uh, so people buy, both have value only because society has confidence that they will maintain the said value over time. So the people try to equate it with gold. So the number of bitcoins right now, the bitcoins are mined. So every day, a certain number of bitcoins are mined, and they come into existence. The overall value of Bitcoin will remain fixed. It will be 21 million, and the last of the bitcoins will be mined in 2140, 120 years from now. This is the value through the years. In July 2010, a Bitcoin was 0.08 USD, and right now it is 9,500 USD. So if you invested something worth say 100 rupees in 2011, it could have worth close to 7 lakhs right now if you would have bought bitcoins. This is the value in February 2010. It was equivalent to $1. $1 then was close to 60 rupees. So Arijit, if you had two rolls, two Kathi rolls, maybe 120 bucks, instead you could have bought two bitcoins, which would have been around 14 lakhs close to now.
I missed the opportunity.
So again, it depends on demand and supply, and that's why a lot of exchanges right now they are offering Bitcoin futures, they are offering index funds and similar financial products related to cryptocurrencies. This is the chart how it goes. This is Ethereum's chart. Ethereum coincidentally it goes hand in hand with Bitcoin, which means if Bitcoin goes up, Ethereum goes up. If Bitcoin goes down, Ethereum goes down. This is my currency real track, which was I was heading till last month. Now I'm not a part of it. Now initially Bitcoin was like sine graph, which means it was going up, it was going down, it was going up, it was going down. But then the market was not stable. People could not understand the value of Bitcoin. So, however, there were visionaries who understood it. They these are Winklevoss twins. If you have seen the movie called Social Network, these were the people who actually gave the idea of something called a social network on which Facebook was built. They received a settlement from Facebook close to 600 million US dollars, out of which they invested 11 million in bitcoins, and that 11 million is close to 1.6 1.7 billion US dollars right now. They just bought it, and they also have a company right now. So the Bitcoin algorithm says that the total number of Bitcoin in circulation will be 21 million only. As I said, the last Bitcoin will be mined by 2140. Right now, when I say mine, it is a mathematical problem which people need to solve. I'll touch base on that in a moment. Now, initially, when Bitcoin started, the reward which people were receiving were 50 per block. Now the reward halves every 4 years, and the last halving happened just last month in May. And right now the block reward is 6.225 billion Bitcoin per block. Around it takes around 10 minutes to mine a block. Around 144 blocks are mined every year. 145 into 6.25 is around 900 bitcoins are mined every day. This is the data. Around 87% bitcoins are already mined. There are close to 2.5 million bitcoins which will be mined. Around 900 bitcoins are generated every day, and it takes around 1000 to mine a block. So mining it is nothing but running a computer which runs the Bitcoin software. I'll touch
Yeah.
base on that later on this presentation itself. Now these are the advantages and benefits of Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies in general. The fee is minimized. So you can transfer maybe 50 bitcoins and you will have to pay close to 300 rupees fee. 50 bitcoins will be close to 3.5 crores. So as good as free. It is very easy to set up. There are no chargebacks as it happens in case of credit cards, which happens a lot in credit card theft. It is fast peer to peer, so you don't need a middleman in between. You can send the payment worldwide, which means I can, if you are in US, I can send you the payment in US and it will happen. Now it is global and can be used all over the country or across the globe. It allows people to transact without any third party. There is low transaction fee. Your account cannot be frozen. There's nothing like low balance. So you need not to maintain a balance. There's nothing called average quarterly balance or average monthly balance. You can just maintain your balance even if there is no bitcoins in it. There is no arbitrary limit to fund transfer. So if you want to transfer 100 bitcoins, people transfer thousands and thousands of bitcoins from one wallet to another, and there is no transfer limit as such. Now, there was a time when it was fluctuating. As I said, there was a sine graph wherein a boy asked his Bitcoin investing dad for one Bitcoin. And the dad said, "Why do you need 15,000 US dollars? 14,000 is a lot of money. And what are you going to do with $16,000?" So there was a time when Bitcoin was fluctuating into late 2017 and early 2018. However, that now the market has matured and the overall fluctuation is not so much so. Now, what are lost bitcoins? So if you send Bitcoin to an invalid address, it is lost. If you forget your PIN or your private key, which is essentially your password for your wallet, it is lost. Till November 2017, over 3 million Bitcoins were lost. Once you lose it, you lose it. This case is documented of James Howells, who lost 7,500 Bitcoins in 2013. And around 25th May, people celebrate Pizza Day because a person called Lazio, who was a Bitcoin miner, he paid 10,000 Bitcoins for two pizzas. Now that event is celebrated as Pizza Day, and it happens in May every year. This is a broad vocabulary of Bitcoin: wallet, Bitcoin address, private key, your blockchain or your explorer, and Bitcoin and other miners. So what is a Bitcoin wallet? So wallet is nothing which it is just like your normal wallet which holds your Bitcoins and Bitcoins addresses. One wallet can have more than one Bitcoin address also. So as we know, Bitcoin uses public key cryptography. So Bitcoin address is nothing but your public key, and your address is your private key. I'm sorry, your password is your private key. There are several types of wallets: software wallets, hardware wallets, online wallets, other wallets like paper wallets. A software wallet is something like you can you can create a wallet on blockchain.com or on Trust, on BitPay. These particular websites, they give you your private key also. However, if you do it on online wallets like say Binance, Local Bitcoin, MXC, BKEX, and other similar exchanges, they don't give you your private key. So you can see your Bitcoin holding in these particular websites, but you don't have access to the private key. Now, then there are physical wallets like Trezor, Keepay, Ledger Nano S. I personally use Ledger Nano S. These physical wallets are not always connected to internet, so they are also called cold wallets because they are not connected to internet all the time. Only when I need to transfer, I connect it to internet. Otherwise, I remove it. Otherwise, all the other wallets are called hot wallets because they are always
Yes.
connected to internet and are prone to hacks also.
Yes.
This is Ledger Nano X. The one that I use is Ledger Nano S. It is around 100 US dollars. It's a good device. Trezor is also good. Now, cryptocurrency uses public key cryptography and digital signature. So every new block which is generated, it is generated from the previous block. You need to timestamp it, and someone puts in his digital signature, and a new block is generated. Now, a hash is generated. Hash is nothing but it is a method to guarantee data integrity. I'll just show it to you. For example, I have written Bitcoin here. If you see the first Bitcoin, it has B capital. The second word has everything capital, and the third word is everything small. However, this hash generated is different for all three of them. Similarly, we use SHA-256 algorithm for Bitcoin. Bitcoin also uses something called P2P network, wherein everyone is connected to everyone else rather than something called a server-based network, which is more centralized. A P2P network is decentralized. I'll show you what is blockchain. So blockchain is nothing but to timestamp a document, so it is not possible to tamper the data. So once you enter any data on the blockchain, it is immutable, incorruptible, you can't change it, the data is tamper proof, and obviously it uses cryptographic functions. Blockchain is also the underlying technology behind all the cryptocurrencies. Now, blockchain is different, Bitcoin is different, currencies are different, technology is different. So even when Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies were illegal in India, blockchain was absolutely legal in India. Now, in case of Bitcoin, it is not maintained by an authority, but it is maintained by a network of communicating nodes. There are roughly 81,000 nodes across the globe for Bitcoin. Now, suppose this wooden log is a single Bitcoin transaction, then a Bitcoin block is a bundle of such transactions. You see the bundle of transactions. If you see on my left, you see small transactions of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is BTC 0.0057, 0.06, 0.44, and finally, if you see it says 94 remaining. And if you see on right, the output after the green arrow, it says 7.84 BTC and 0.00855 BTC. So the transaction can happen from number of wallets to one and from one to number of other wallets. And that is how it happens. Now, as I said, Bitcoin network has 84,000 active nodes. The Swift network, which is used for international transactions, it has roughly 11,000 nodes, which means Bitcoin is 8 times larger than the Swift network. Now, what is mining? The the transactions are recorded into a distributed replicate public database known as blockchain with consensus achieved for a POW system called mining. POW stands for proof of work. Now there are various consensus algorithms right now. There are more than 50 which are actually working. And if you see people create their own consensus algorithms, so there can be thousands. The most common ones are POW and POS. Bitcoin uses POW, proof of work, and Ethereum uses POS, which is proof of stake. Now, Hashcash, historically, I mean, it has nothing to do with this presentation, but I would just like to add, Hashcash was a similar concept to Bitcoin. It was introduced by someone called Adam Back in
Yep.
1997. It was
Yep.
absolutely based on proof of work algorithm. And people say and predict that Adam Back is the actual Satoshi Nakamoto. His demeanor, his way of working, style of functioning is very similar to Satoshi Nakamoto online. Now, blockchain uses similar methods like Hashcash is proof of work. In this case, it is Bitcoin's blockchain. So supply will remain the same even if the miners are increased. So you increase the number of computers, it then the output decreases in the reward. So more miners, less reward, less miners, more reward. As I said, the limit of 21 million Bitcoins by 2140, 18 million are close to 18 million are already mined. Right now, every block generates 6.25 Bitcoin, and it takes 10 minutes to generate a block. And around 144 blocks are generated every day. Close to 900 Bitcoins are mined every day. Now, these are the uses of blockchain where it is used extensively. First and foremost is naturally cryptocurrency, then digital wallet, then digital medical repository, smart contract, land registry, healthcare data storage, and academic authenticity. I'll just play the video.
CL4 Digital Ledger Consulting as a company provides a product-based service on academic authenticity, land registry, and healthcare data storage using blockchain. CL4 Digital Ledger Consulting Private Limited intends or aims to provide consultations and development to banks, the education sector, and the health sector using blockchain. In today's world, with great and advanced technology available, could we make healthcare better? Today, the health professionals are limited in the level of care and treatment they can provide because of inability to view your complete and accurate health records, because sometimes patients are unable to save their health records. Our system is protected that will only allow authorized doctors to upload a report on the blockchain. Our system gives patients easy access to their medical information across providers and treatment sites. The doctors are presented with a dashboard that will allow them to perform multiple functions, such as uploading digitally signed reports and viewing the patient's history. Doctors can generate a digital signature key pair to sign their reports. They can also use third-party keys to sign the reports. A new patient can be registered on the application and they are provided with the blockchain address. So this address will become their identity, which will hold all their medical history. Before uploading a report to the blockchain, the doctors will need to sign their reports with their private key. The application provides the doctors a portal to upload their private key. The doctor will upload the patient's details with diagnosis and prescription. The doctors will fill the blockchain address provided by the patient and pushed on the patient's address. When the report is uploaded, the blockchain returns a transaction ID, which will uniquely identify the location of this particular report. The program also converts the transaction ID into a QR code. If the patient wants to share his medical report with the doctor, then he will just have to provide the transaction ID, and the doctor can have access to a particular report. To verify the digital signature of the doctor who uploaded the report, just the public key has to be uploaded, and the application will detect if the signature is valid or not. The block time is less than 30 seconds, which allows the data to be available at all nodes almost in real time. In case of emergency, when the patient is not able to provide access to medical records, in that case, the Aadhaar can be used by taking patient's fingerprints, which will be linked to a patient's address. Each interaction with their medical data is secure and will be recorded as a transaction on CL4 Chain's distributed ledger. During this process, the patient's privacy is protected at all times. We help you to join the CL4 Chain in building the healthcare of tomorrow today.
So this was a basic idea of what a blockchain can do, and what blockchain. So we are just going to touch base on what blockchain can do and what blockchain cannot do. Arijit, am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Loud and clear.
Okay.
Yep.
So stuff that only blockchains can do, first and foremost, remains that cryptocurrencies, that only blockchain can provide cryptocurrencies, not anyone else. Now, stuff that blockchains can do better is data authentication and verification, as can be done in cases of, say, your academic degree qualification. These can be put over blockchain and anyone can verify it online. The settlement of securities and equity trades. A company in US, US or Estonia, they did their online voting of their shares over blockchain, wherein everything is documented, and then later on it was distributed to the shareholders. Obviously, there is some stuff that blockchains cannot do. One is high-speed frequency trading, which happens in stock markets, which is
Yeah.
very fast stock trading, so that the price don't go up instantly. And second is IMPS transfer, which is immediate money transfer. It is not possible over blockchain because these blockchain are verified by the community, the nodes. So it is not possible to do it instantly. Now, there are two types of blockchain. One is private blockchain, the other is public blockchain. The example of private blockchain is multi-chain or Coda. The example of public blockchain remains Ethereum or Bitcoin. Now, as far as my opinion is considered, I consider private blockchain as nothing but glorified database, because it is not maintained by community, it is maintained by few people, and it is done for internal work only. The identity, obviously it is known in case of private blockchains and not so much so in case of public blockchains. Now, this is I got from ICICI website, and they were trying to, so this is some wrong, but I just want to show it that a lot of Indian banks are trying to do adopt blockchain, and ICICI is trying to do it through their subsidiary in Emirates. Ripple, as I said, it is used by Federal Bank, IndusInd Bank, Axis Bank. In India, it is amongst third or fourth largest cryptocurrencies globally, and the Ripple network is fastly it's catching on with the Swift network. Now, what is mining? Mining is intentionally designed to be resource intensive and difficult, so that the number of blocks found each day by miners remains steady. I'll not read it, I'll just give you an example. It is also a mechanism used to introduce new Bitcoins into the system. So mining has basically two uses. First, it brings in new Bitcoins into the system. And secondly, it helps in the transactions of Bitcoins, old and new both. So there are distributed group of nodes who add transactions to the block, which gets added to the blockchain. The miner have to perform some work. This work is nothing but essentially solving mathematical problems to add their block into the blockchain. And to do this, they are awarded bitcoins for the work they perform. Again, if you see the transaction, every transaction has very low fee associated with it. And this fee, it goes to, or it is distributed to the miners. So do I have to do all the hash calculations on my own? No. It's done using open source mining software that are available freely over internet. There are two types of mining, CPU and GPU. CPU is central processing unit, GPU is graphical processing
Graphic.
unit. CPU is used for Bitcoin mining, GPU is used for Ethereum mining.
Yeah.
These are basic mining software, BFG miner, CG miner, Easy miner, RPC. There is a Bitcoin miner even on Microsoft Store. This is the interface, how it looks like on Mac, and this is how it looks like on Windows. I'm showing you the interface because even if you have one miner or you have 100 miners, you will need only one screen to do it. Then it is not possible to do it over one computer system. So people put in lines and lines of computer systems, and then those are
Yes.
known as crypto mining farms. That's how a crypto mining farms looks like. This is for OX BTC. Now BTC.com, not OX BTC, but BTC.com has tied up with government of Kyrgyzstan, and they are doing huge mining in Kyrgyzstan for a lot of different cryptocurrencies, not only Bitcoin. This is how essentially most of these companies are Chinese companies only. This is how
Yeah.
Bitmain's farm looks like. This is the largest Bitcoin in North America. This is close to 2 years back. Now there are bigger Bitcoin and other mining farms. We also run a small mining farm in Tel Aviv in Israel. This is a GPU mining farm. We have 53 rigs. One rig has 6 GPUs. So essentially, we try to mine 2 to 3 Ethereum every day, and then we are trying to backward integrate into other related cryptocurrency mining also. Now, what is the hardware? The hardware that you see, I'll just explain it to you. There are different USB miners. Now, these are not, you cannot use this, otherwise you'll burn your microprocessor and maybe board also. But obviously, if you have money, you can put it on mining servers, and you can do a lot of mining from servers. This is Antminer, which is used essentially for Bitcoin mining. The latest version is S9. This is our GPU based farm in Israel. We use GPUs only, graphic cards. Now, a lot of companies also offer Bitcoin mining as cloud service. Now, Bitcoin.com offers a cloud mining service. Then there is Genesis Mining, which offers cloud mining service. You can buy hash powered from these companies, and so they will make less profit. However, they will receive upfront money to maintain the servers. Just try to beware that there are a lot of cloud mining scams also. So people put in money that tomorrow or in a month you will receive 100% Bitcoin back and so on and so forth. However, it doesn't happen so. Now, what are incentives? Why to make so much of investments and to maintain the blockchain? So first, as I said, it provides a way to bring in new Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies in circulation, as there is no central minting authority, and also they get transaction fees. Now, can I make money mining Bitcoin? Yes. Can a powerful miner guarantee success? It guarantees success. However, it also creates a lot of heat. So if you're doing it in a hot or humid place, you will have to put in a lot of air conditioning to cool it down, and then you will have to determine your price whether you're making profit or not. In Israel, if the Ethereum price is less than 185 190 US dollars, then it is not profit making for us, it is loss making. Right now it is around 240 US dollars per Ethereum, so it is somewhat profit making. My colleague Dheeraj, who is also a part of this talk, he was the one who was maintaining it in Tel Aviv in Israel. Right now, because of he was scheduled to go to Israel to maintain it again. However, because of COVID situation, he could not travel. Now, the more media exposure these cryptocurrencies get, the more price it fuels up. Now, for a lot of cryptocurrencies, they usually go up and go down very fast. However, with stable cryptocurrencies, it does not happen so. How can you protect your Bitcoin? You can back up your entire wallet. Uh, you Once you sign up for any wallet, you will receive mnemonic codes. These are essentially words in a specific order, so you can write it down. You can encrypt your online backups. Always advisable, never forget your password and keep a strong password. Keep your software up to date. Keep multi-signature wallets if possible. Multi-signature is on the right. If you see, there is a safe which has three keys, so it's like three signatures. Now, if you become a Bitcoin grandma and if you can't find your wallet, forget about forgetting password. If you forget the wallet address, then you forget your Bitcoin also. There is fear of government intervention. A lot of people think that it's illegal. So at this point in time, there is nothing illegal about Bitcoin. Our cash is more anonymous than Bitcoins, and it is also not tied to any identity. India has one of the largest chunks of black money, as we call it, floating across the country. And with increasing popularity, governments wants to control it, tax it, regulate it, because it questions their authority on running it in a safe and secure manner. Now, as I said, Bitcoin's future of currency, it's the future of currency or it's an asset bubble. It's your call to take. However, if you have this much money, you can buy Bitcoins and rest assured that you will not lose money. I'll just tell you some use cases of cryptos. You can actually go to on your left, if you see there is MCO, which is crypto.com. You can go and buy these cards. From these cards, you can go to any of the malls in India and you can actually pay also. Now there's Bitcoin auction, which wherein FBI seized 30,000 Bitcoins from a site which was on darknet. It was called Silk
Yeah,
Road,
yeah.
and they actually auctioned those Bitcoins. So if FBI, which is a government authority, is auctioning Bitcoin, which means they see some value and they see that it is real and legal. This is a news of 2018 wherein armed robbers raided house of a Bitcoin British virtual currency trader, and they forced him to transfer bitcoins after threatening up his wife and threatening him with a gun. So people are even robbing bitcoins. There are companies who are paying employees in Bitcoin. A company in Japan wants to start paying Japanese company GMO Internet Group. They started paying 25% of the salary of their employees in bitcoins. These are the these are not all the list. This is not all the list, but a lot of companies accept bitcoins, including WordPress, Pirate Bay, Reddit. This is how Bitcoin ATM looks like. It's in They are in Norway,
Love
they
it.
are in Canada,
Yeah.
they are in countries like Taiwan, South Korea, Switzerland, and this is both for buying and selling. Now there is something called coin as Bitcoin, and there is something called token. For example, Ethereum. A token is always pre-generated, so token will not be mined for next 100 years. It is always pre-generated. However, it's not like cash. It's like a coupon, a smart contract, a digital medical repository. It's not like money. It's not like Bitcoin. Then there are Bitcoin exchanges. A lot of good Bitcoin exchanges are there. WazirX is there. Binance is I personally use. There is Bittrex, Bitfinex, Bitforex, Biki, MXC. A lot of Chinese exchange. But it is always advisable to go to an exchange which has some name in the market. You can go to CoinMarketCap and you can see the rankings also, and you can go to maybe top 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 exchange, and you keep off your Bitcoin of unknown exchanges. A lot of exchanges offer interest on Bitcoin. We are moving into a world which is called DeFi, decentralized finance. So these companies, they will take Bitcoins and Ethereums from you and they will give you interest also on that. However, just beware that you go to the right company, right website, right exchange, rather than you lose your investments. These are the major exchanges, and I have also mentioned major wallets here. Just make sure that you go to the right exchange. As I said earlier, you have your cryptocurrencies on the right wallet. Just make sure that you don't lose it. Write it down, not in your laptop, separately on a piece of paper, maybe. These are other basic cryptocurrencies, including Ripple, Ethereum Classic, Monero, Bitcoin, Dash, so on and so forth. Again, there are various currencies like RealTract, which has a market, Ether, which has a dominant market share. And this is a summary of how Bitcoin or blockchain eventually works. So if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to assist and answer. Otherwise, we can finish the presentation. And it's really great to be here.
Well, Rahul, I think we have got the first question in the chat box. Mr. Sanjeev is asking that what is Pi cryptocurrency?
So Pi, I also came to know about Pi. People say that it offers mining over your phone. Now, once you do some any activity of that kind, you will have to give them a lot of rights, which means access to your address book, access to your maybe memory, access to your camera, access to your mic. Now, no one knows actually whether eventually you will receive a currency or not. You may receive a currency also. I can create a currency right now, and Dheeraj can create a currency in next 10 minutes. However, it may not have a value. I've heard about Pi, but uh, I will not recommend doing any kind of mining kind of activity on phone. My
Super.
Pi is absolutely phone driven.
Yep. So we are open for question and answer. We'll open the floor for Q&A. You can, okay, Mr. Ravi Agarwal. Mr. Ravi is asking, Zappay is valid exchange in India. I've heard that they were asked to close down.
Yes. So back then, when this all RBI thing was happening, a lot of Indian exchanges, including Coinomi, including WazirX, including Zeppay, they shut their shops in India. I'm not sure about the current status of Zappay, but WazirX is they've started operating in India again. Now, WazirX is not your actual exchange. You
Yeah.
can buy bitcoins, but you cannot hold bitcoins, which means it will. You can if you go to Zeppay. I'm sorry. If you go to WazirX website, you will see your bitcoins, but you cannot transfer it into a separate wallet, which means it will never give you your private key. You can hold it, but actually your bitcoins are in a cold wallet separately, not connected to exchange. Deepak Bhai is asking what leads to the increase or decrease in the valuation of Bitcoin. So, off late in last 1 year, what we call as whales. I have written it also whales. There is also a website called Bitcoin Whales. They dump 10,000, 20,000 Bitcoin at one go. It is possible in Bitcoin's case. So that decreases the price. Once the price decreases, even by say 400 US dollars, 500 US dollars, they buy it again. Now they are playing at a volume of 10,000 Bitcoins into 500. So they'll make maybe $500,000 dollars out of it, or out of one transaction, and then they'll sit for next 6 7 months. So there are few whales. There is a website also called Whale Alert or Bitcoin Whales. You can register yourself there. They charge I think $10 per month or something, and you will receive all the whale alerts on time. So if you want to get out of market, you just sell your bitcoins then, and the moment price reduces, you buy it again.
So there is another interesting question by Rahul, another Rahul. With so many new cryptocurrencies coming and going, how can a new user gain confidence? Also, what happens in case of global digital blackout? Okay.
So if a global digital blackout happens, it is rare to happen because it will also affect the international payment system. Right now, the international payment system uses something called SWIFT. As I said
Yeah.
earlier, SWIFT has 11,000 nodes globally. Bitcoin has more than 8 times of that, close to 80,000 nodes. So if a global blackout happens, your international payments will fail first, then Bitcoin will fail. However, in case of a doomsday scenario, yes, it is all going to go down, but it will not happen, rest assured. Now, a lot of cryptocurrencies, as you said, they're coming and going. So I refer to something called CoinMarketCap. You can also go to CoinMarketCap. If you want to invest in currencies, you invest in maybe top 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 currencies. Currencies, if you invest in shares, a lot of us invest in shares, and we don't. If you don't understand shares, you start doing something called an SIP, a systematic investment plan, which is nothing but an equity traded fund. So there are ETFs, equity traded funds, even for cryptocurrencies. So you can go there and you can start doing it yourself. We are trying to bring in India's first equity traded fund in cryptos. It should happen by next month, but we will be concentrating on top 50 cryptocurrencies only.
Super.
Then Deepak Bhai has a question: since mining of bitcoins is decreasing, will it
Will it
sustain
sustain?
its value? So the code which Satoshi Nakamoto wrote, it is such beautifully written that if the number of miners decrease, the block rewards increases. So which means right now the 900 bitcoins which are mined, they are distributed amongst maybe 20,000 different miners. So if they suddenly overnight they become half, so every one of them will start receiving more bitcoins. And if mining, so you can't stop mining because there are 81,000 nodes and someone or the other is always doing mining. Now the community is so strong that it is next to impossible to imagine this kind of scenario. And all these people who are doing mining, they're doing it at very large professional scale, and they're not only doing bitcoin, they are also doing ethereum, they are also doing waves, they're doing a lot of different currencies. So it for particularly for bitcoin and other top currencies, it will not happen in maybe near future. Next 10 years I don't foresee that happening.
Super. Thank you, Rahul, for all the insights, and thank you, audience, for all the valuable questions. And thank you once again, Rahul, for taking all these questions and giving us the beautiful insight. Thank you so much, audience. Thank you, Rahul, for the evening. Stay blessed, stay happy. Let's meet up again. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Stay home, stay safe, take care guys. Bye bye, good night.
Bye. Bye.